What's going on, everybody? Cheers. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the With Her Two Hands podcast, where each week we celebrate the women who build, fix, and make the things that make the world go around with her own two hands. I am your host, Bogey. I am a master auto mechanic by trade, but I'm a huge fan of seeing more women in all of the skilled trades across the industries. And this series is about celebrating women in all of those different skilled trades. We've had women on who are helicopter mechanics, auto mechanics, plane mechanics, construction workers, electricians, welders, pipe fitters, you name it. We've had them on here. All incredibly badass women. And generally speaking, women in the trades do not get a light shown on them nearly enough. They don't get their praises sung nearly enough. And so that's what this series is about. So I am grateful for every one of you who is coming back every week to check out these women and hear their stories. Anybody who is new here, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. We've got a very special guest for you this week. I'm super excited to be sitting down with. This could be epic. This could be catastrophic. It could be hysterical. I don't know what this can be. We've got two New Jersey girls in the same room together. This is virtual room, not actually in the same room. That would be even more insane. But two Jersey girls. I'm from New Jersey. Tonight's guest is from New Jersey. She is a Journeywoman Electrician. She is a huge advocate for women in the trades. And I am very excited to meet her. She also has a podcast of her own. And maybe I may wind up on her podcast at some point in the future. So, you'll have to check that one out too. But for now, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to do a quick thank you to our sponsor for this evening's episode. We couldn't do this show without them. Big thank you to Drive Time. They are a huge advocate for women in the trades as well, within their organization as well as behind the scenes. They do a lot to create opportunities for women within their business, and just creating opportunities for young technicians to come up in general and help find their home within the automotive aftermarket. So if you're looking for a job or a career path or a place to call home, go check them out. But for now, we are going to dive in. I'm going to bring Miss Lia Lamela on, and you're going to get to meet this other Jersey girl. Hello.
Hey.
I'm so excited. I've left Jersey. You're still there. What part of Jersey are you in?
Right now, I'm in Halden, Patterson area, so northern New Jersey.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we're
but
from similar area.
I grew up in Ocean Township, so down by the shore.
Down the shore. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up in North Jersey, like right outside of Manhattan. So yeah, I'm Essex County, grew up in Montclair. So
yes.
Yep. Gotta love it. All right. So tell the fine folks at home who you are, what you do currently, and then we're gonna dive into stuff. But just in a nutshell, who are you, Miss Lia Lamela? What do you do?
Well, I'm an electrician. I have the podcast Sparky Life, and I'm an evangelist for the skilled trades. I love everything about the skilled trades and really feel that the skilled trades changed my life in a miraculous way and helped me become the woman that I am, that I always was and didn't necessarily
know.
Exactly.
Yep. I can relate to that. So then let's go back in time. Like, what happened? What was your life before you found the trades? Pre-trades. What were you doing?
Oh, wow. So I am a professional in career discovery. So I've had
I like that. That is a very nice way of saying that.
7 careers in my lifetime.
Okay.
So far. But I think this one is the one that's a forever.
I love it. Expert of career discovery. Okay. Do we get to run down? Do we get to hear what all of the other careers were?
Are they
like all over the board?
Yes. I've been a vet technician, phlebotomist, dialysis technician, medical esthetician. I worked as a kindergarten as a teacher's assistant.
Okay.
So
a little all over the board, always kind of in like caretaker kind of nurturing positions, it seems, though, like vet tech, phlebotomist, even with kids, like those are all very like nurturing kind of things. And then full switch, being an electrician is not that.
No.
Was that the appeal?
No. No, the appeal was the money. That's how that started.
Okay, okay.
It was the money. That was the appeal. At the time, I was living in a women's shelter and I had lost everything.
Oh,
So
wow.
ground zero. And I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Can I curse?
Of course. Yeah.
Jersey
Yeah.
Mountain.
Nothing is off limits. Yeah, no, nothing is off limits. You're good. You're good.
And I needed to survive, and the skilled trades has amazing salaries
Yeah.
that I don't think many are privy to.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Do you mind talking about how you wound up there, or are we skipping past that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm a domestic violence survivor. So I was this is the kind of get ready because we're gonna take a couple turns
Okay.
and shit. So
Okay, good. We like that here. We like that.
Yeah. So I was working in Massachusetts at the time, and I was at the peak of my career as a medical esthetician. I had over a decade of experience, and I really wanted to own my own facility. The laws were changing, and you needed a nurse practitioner's license or an MD in order to have a facility and operate it. And I knew that my choice was either find a partner that had those credentials or for me to get those credentials. So I was toying with the idea of going back for a nursing degree. And I didn't want to just jump back into college because my college experience wasn't positive when we're talking about career direction. So college was great for the culture, for studying abroad, for, learning about different communities and being exposed to different things.
Yeah.
But regarding any kind of guidance for a career, complete shit show.
Okay.
And I have tons of college debt. Lots. So I was like, okay, do I really want to make more debt for myself? And that's when I started to do phlebotomy, dialysis technician, medical assistant, because I was like, I need to be in the environment, right? I need to work into a hospital and see what does this look like, because I'm going to have to do this if I want my nursing.
Yeah.
And while I was there, a high school sweetheart reached out to me on Facebook and proposed. And so I moved back to New Jersey.
Okay.
And he was in the commercial fishing industry, and being somebody who has opened businesses prior, I saw a need, and I opened up Out East Fishing, which was specialty rods and rigs. So it was commercial gear for enthusiasts of fishing. And unfortunately, that relationship was extremely dangerous and toxic. And I ended up having to flee the state for my life, like literally. But the upside is, I always say that was the probably worst thing that's ever happened to me and the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I don't know that I would be where I am today if that hadn't occurred, if those things didn't unfold the way that they did. I certainly would not have stepped into the skilled trades. I didn't even know it was an option for me as a career. I didn't think that it was even a possibility.
Yeah. Wow.
So
thank you for sharing and being willing to share that. I know it's not always easy to share. I know you've talked about it a bit in your podcast. It's definitely not an easy thing to do to get yourself out of that. So I just want to acknowledge how much it takes to do that. And yes, if anybody at home is dealing with a similar situation, like there are resources and there are people out there, and I'll make sure to put some stuff in the comments below about dealing with that. it's definitely no small thing to get out of that. But to your point, and I've actually spoken with a couple of women on this show, in fact, who've had similar situations, who say similar things as you, like, as awful as it was, having survived it, that was the catalyst that put them into something different, better, more, that they may not have had that opportunity to do otherwise. So I'm grateful that you got out of it. And I'm grateful that the trades found you and that you found the trades, because you've been an asset to it, to the trades. So
Thank you.
grateful for that. So how exactly does that happen? You'd not been exposed to the trades. You didn't know anything about them. You're in a shelter.
Yes.
What brought it into your field of vision to then pursue? Like, what brought the skill of trades to light for you? Like you said, a lot of people don't know that there's great career paths in the trades. There's great money to be made. How did you find out?
Okay. I just want to quickly say
Yeah.
that I really feel comfortable talking about domestic violence, and I feel it's really important to talk about that type of thing because of the stigma and stereotypes,
Amen.
and the women or men that are in situations like that. You not only will survive it, you can thrive after it. So through my experience and growth, I really want to take away the taboo of it.
Yeah.
And I also want to say that I had behaviors and characteristics that made me a target for as a that made me exhibit signs and behaviors like prey. So it's important that people know that, so that you can assess your behavior and your characteristics and make sure to protect yourself,
Mm.
because I was doing things that I didn't know was making me a beacon for predators. And I'm not saying it's my fault.
Right.
I'm saying you need to acknowledge this so that you can ensure something like that
Doesn't
won't
happen again.
ever happen. Yes. 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 Now back to your
Yeah, no, thank
question.
you. Thank you for saying all of that. Thank you for saying all of that. And I think it's really easy. The taboo of it, I think, is so important to dispel. I think it's really easy to judge women who are victims of domestic violence, who have survived it, and say, "Oh, that would never happen to me." And it
Uh-huh.
it it would happen to anybody, and it can happen to anybody, and you'd be surprised how many people have had experiences with it that you may never think. And the more we talk about it, the more we share, the more people know that they are not alone. um
Yes.
I fortunately was never in a physically abusive relationship, but I have been through some very seriously emotionally abusive relationships. And um you don't think you're going to be the one who ends up there, but then you do, and there
Right.
you are, and you're like, wow, okay, this is it's hard. It's hard, and anybody can find themselves there. And so we definitely need to talk about it more, so people know that they are not alone. And yes, you are absolutely right. You 100% can thrive afterwards. You can be incredibly successful afterwards. You can get through this, and you are not alone. You're not
Yes.
alone.
Yes.
So
100%.
yeah. So how did you get to thriving? You got out of it. How did you get to the
Okay.
thriving?
So I did the whole living in a robe, living out of a shelter, lost everything, and I was a shell of a person.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law was like, "Why don't you try the skilled trades?" And I laughed. And he said this because I, I love fishing. I'm creative. I love sculpting. I love painting and doing things with my hands and building. And so that's why he mentioned it. But
Okay.
I never associated those qualities with skilled trades. Um, and when he said it, I laughed because I was like, with what money? Like, are you kidding?
Right.
Because immediately my thought process is like, the only way is to go to school,
Right.
which then means money, which I have currently none.
Right. You're like, have you noticed where I'm living? Hello.
And I swear the universe works in mysterious ways. He heard on a podcast about an all-women's trade school that was offering full rides. And I applied
Wow.
and I got it. And that's how that started. So while I was in a women's shelter, I was going to
Oh my
trade school.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. I need more information about an all women's trade school. How have I not heard of this? Where is this? What is this? Tell me more.
So unfortunately, the program that I was with, they didn't survive. They
Oh
didn't.
no.
Yeah, I know. But however, very side note, there is a group currently that I'm speaking with, collaborating with regarding education and schooling. So I can't go into much detail right now, but the goal is to create something similar and
This is
being
exciting.
able to, because the women that taught me, the people that were there and how they followed through, it wasn't just like, oh, here, we're going to teach you for your certificate. It was, we're going to identify contractors that welcome women, that welcome a positive culture environment and support having more women enter into the skilled trades. Then we're going to set you up with these interviews and follow through so that before you top out, you have a job.
Amazing.
I spent over 6 figures to go to college. Not one college counselor, not one teacher, not one professor held my hand and said, hey, you want to be this? These are your network. This is connections. This is, we're going to set you up with it. None of that.
No.
And so,
well, to be fair, in the trades, that generally doesn't happen either.
Yes. Well, that's what I've learned. I've learned that doesn't happen.
No, you managed to land into like something amazing.
Yes.
Because that's incredible.
Yes.
And if you're going to try to create something else along those lines, like, I know you can't talk about it much yet, but I'm already excited, which means once it's happened, because it's going to happen, we're going to have you on again so you can share all of the details. But also, I want to talk offline because I don't know how I can support you. But that's incredible. So you like literally had somebody holding your hand through this whole process and getting the whole thing to get you into a job.
Yes.
Amazing.
And they built a network where they identified contractors, that and look, some of them wanted to tick the box.
Sure.
Okay. It is what it is. But more importantly, they wanted to uphold an environment that would support maintaining female presence. So a lot of the experiences of women that I've spoken to, that I'm sure you've spoken to, that has entered the skilled trades, the environment was so toxic.
Yeah.
It was literally dragging yourself to an environment that just felt like an attack all the time. I didn't get that. And if that's all you see when you first walk in, why the fuck would you stay?
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like those who are fortunate enough to wind up in a good shop environment, and there are more and more of these good environments where they do embrace diversity, where they are genuinely interested in having a diverse workforce. But if you don't land in one of those places as your first or second job, right? That's why we see women at 3 or 4 years leaving the trades, because they're like, screw this. I really enjoy the work, but the rest of this crap, this is not worth it.
Yes.
It's all the difference in the world. How incredible that you like stumbled across it. So it was your brother that showed you this, or cousin, you
said?
My
brother-in-law mentioned that he heard about this trade school and on a podcast, and
amazing,
the scholarship or the free ride they were offering. And I applied. I had nothing to lose, so I applied. And this amazing woman, Jess, she was the director there, and she's just a phenomenal human being. How she would fight for us and encourage us and train us. I didn't know how to measure. I didn't know how to use a measuring tape.
Most people don't.
I was so intimidated. And I stepped in such a supportive environment. Like they were, and I'm dyslexic.
Okay.
School has always been horrific for me, academic torture. And I always thought that I was horrible at math. I'm not horrible at math. I just never had to do math physically, like, put numbers in and measure shit, and like never
Right.
before in my life. And then as soon as I'm doing that, it clicked. I'm
Yeah.
great at math. I kick ass at math now. I love math. Never in a million years would you ever talk to previous me and have those words come out of my mouth.
Right. I still suck at math. I I used to love math when I was younger, and then I had a bad teacher that took the love out of it for me. And but it's interesting, like they don't teach you the application of it, right? And I think that's where it gets lost, like where we lose that interest. If I had known how much math I was going to use in building cars,
Yes.
I would have paid more attention. I suck because I am still that person reading the tape measure that says it's 12 and a half and an eighth.
Yeah, but that's okay because you make it work, and that's
I
what
do make it
matters.
work.
That's what matters. That's what matters.
Oh my goodness. So you got really lucky with this program because gosh, knowing nothing
Yeah.
coming into this, like the odds of you staying in it were pretty slim otherwise, right? Like without having that opportunity.
I you don't know the I didn't live that. I only
Sure.
lived this, but
Yeah.
I certainly believe that if I didn't have the support of those women and that school, that I don't know I would have gone as far as I
Yeah.
have. And I don't know that I would have fallen in love with electricity the way that I have. As I was in the women's shelter, I would go to the trade school and then go to the library. Yes, people still go to the library. Granted, it's because there weren't many options at
Right.
that point.
Right.
Okay. But I basically swore to myself that what happened would never ever happen again, and I was gonna figure out why it happened, how it happened, and everything I could do to ensure that it would never happen again. And through that process of studying electrical, building, um, going to counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, doing all the research I could possibly do, involving myself in groups, really just created this incredible growth.
I love it.
And it was not fun, but it was an incredible ride.
I like the way you say that with a smile. Yeah, change is rarely fun, but most of the time worth it.
So worth
Uh,
it. So worth it.
I love it. So why electrical? Why
Well,
electricity? Why electrician? Was the trade school that you were at strictly for electricians, or was it a
no,
smattering of everything and electricity is what drew you?
it had carpentry, plumbing, and electrical. And
Okay.
they didn't have welding, but they did introduce you to ironwork in the sense of
Okay.
like, this is what that would look like. If you're interested in this, we can take you to the local union, or we can take you to this welding facility and you can test it out or see if you want to do that. So those were the
Okay.
main things that were presented.
Yeah.
And I sucked at carpentry. Bad, really bad. I mean, I think I'm pretty precise, but oh my gosh, like in finish work. Plumbing was fun,
Okay.
but with electricity, I was like, the power. I am Magneto. I like loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the math. I loved the science. I loved what electricity brings. I know what it's like to live without water, electricity. I know what it's like to live without a roof over your head. And the worst of humanity comes out when we lose these civilized
Basic needs.
things.
Yeah.
Mhm. And
Wow.
so, yeah.
I love that. I love I love the depth of where you went with that. Like there's the trade itself, but then also just the power of like the impact of what being an electrician is and what it brings to the world and what life looks like when you don't have that, right? And having experienced that, it's really that's a powerful statement in and of itself. Like what you just said is just huge. I love that. I like it. Okay. So electricity speaks to you. You understand the need for it and the value for it and the impact of it. How did you wind up like what path, because there's lots of options. There's different types of being an electrician that you can do. So tell me what happens next.
Um, my first job in an electrical company was with building automation.
Okay.
And I fell in love with building automation. I was like, basically, it's Terminator, one little device talking to another little device with, the device is not trying to kill you.
That's a positive thing.
Yes.
Explain for people who may not know what building, including myself, building automation means. Is that like smart home kind of stuff, but for commercial buildings? Like, what is building automation?
Yes, so that's exactly what it is. Think of a building as a the anatomy of a human body, right?
Okay.
Everything inside of you talks so that everything can work efficiently. And building automation is all about making the devices work efficiently using electricity efficiently.
Okay.
That's the whole purpose. And there is smart homes that's for your residential world. And also schools are looking into doing building automation just because the amount of money that you save regarding utilizing these devices. And commercial, I was primarily in commercial and industrial settings. So
Okay.
data centers was
Okay.
my hub.
Interesting. That's a very specific niche to
Yeah,
end up in. And is that just because of where your first job happened to be and
it
who was looking and willing to hire women and all the rest?
yes, yes. The company that I worked with, they were union. So when I got hired, I didn't know what a union was. I'd never been exposed to it before,
Yeah.
but I really loved the building automation and the building of the panels from the ground up, how all of the panels it reminded me of medical aesthetics in the sense of the human body and anatomy. I was
Yeah.
very intrigued by that, and I love the idea of conserving energy and efficiency and how powerful that really is. And they said that the IBW uh, had an apprenticeship program and that I should go for it. So that was the beginning. And
Okay.
then in the apprenticeship program, you get sent around to different companies. You can't stay in just one place. So
Okay.
I left that company and started with another. And that was my experience then when I went into more of your construction, like straight
Okay.
up construction,
Okay.
MC, lots of fun stuff.
Okay.
Down and dirty,
All
you know,
right.
pouring sweat, no air conditioning, nothing up in a ceiling, wiring. Like it was fun.
Yeah. I feel like there's some hesitation in the you say it's fun. 'Cause you're like,
Well, once
it's
you get past the
fun.
swamp ass and, just just mindless numbing repeat. That's the thing. You do something and then you repeat it like bending
Mm,
conduit. In the beginning, I was so excited to do it. I couldn't bend three-quarter conduit in the beginning.
okay.
I couldn't even carry a bundle in the beginning. But now no problem. You
Yeah.
learn, you get stronger as you go. And but once you kind of master it or you feel depending on what your passion is, some guys are just holy cow. Some women, I
Yeah.
mean, masterful at it.
Yeah.
Masterful. The symmetry is just mind-blowing. They look like robots did it. It's crazy. I wasn't in love with it as much. I like more of playing with the circuits.
Okay. Fair.
I like more of the troubleshooting, problem solving. I want to fix it kind of
Mhm.
idea. How can we make it better?
Okay.
And the conduit, when you bend conduit, it's about finding the right path. It's about aesthetics. It's
Mm.
about code. You need to understand the code.
Okay.
And some of these craftsmen and craftswomen, the tools, it's like an extension of their body. It's incredible, absolutely incredible to watch them work. I would be like, and I remember telling my first journeyman, I want to move like you. And he's like, time. It will take a lot of time. He had like 3 decades in, so
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Interesting. So more like the creative side versus the diagnostic side, and kind of building versus the like the pure electrician work, like working with electricity versus working with the building materials. Seems like it's kind of two separate things, but they're both considered part of the same,
electrical.
like, okay.
Yes, because
Interesting.
there's so electrical is vast, right? It's
Yeah.
it's the install. So basically pulling the wire, running the
Mhm.
wire, knowing what wire, what size, the conduit, the pathways, the code, the building orientation, the blueprints, the schematics, all of
Yeah.
that. And then the devices, you have to understand which when I thought of what an electrician was before I was an electrician, I was like, oh, like the outlet.
Right.
Like, that's what it is, right? Like you put this wire into that and it goes on. No, not like that. Electricians are not just masters of electricity. We have to be mechanically inclined,
Mhm.
and we have to understand electronics now, especially
Yeah.
now, because things have
Yes.
developed on such a level. So you're marrying those 3 different elements together,
Yeah.
and that is really fun. It's just you're always learning. So besides the building automation, you've got industrial plants, you've got linemen. That's
Mhm.
completely separate, totally different. Like,
Yeah.
right now I'm in fire alarm. I
Okay.
switched.
Okay.
Life safety.
I
So
wanna I wanna get to that. I wanna hear about that, but I don't wanna jump ahead in your career path yet. I have to say, I'm not necessarily surprised that you excelled at this given your background in medical and that kind of stuff, because I think, like, I always felt like, even as an auto mechanic, my customers who were in the medical field, whether they were nurses or whatever, anybody who had any understanding of the human body, they were the best customers because they understood how systems work, and they understood
mm,
diagnostics, and they understood test plans, and following things through a logical course of action, right? And it's the same thing, right? You're doing it, even the way you describe the building, like a set of human systems, right? It makes sense that you excelled at this, and it's so interesting to me. It's like this crossover of skill sets that our society likes to put things into gendered roles, right? And it's the same skill sets. They're the exact same skill sets, right? Like, I make the analogy all the time of a woman who I knew who was she was an amazing cake decorator. First time she took up TIG welding, she excelled at it like nobody's business, because
oh,
it's the same skill set, hand-eye coordination, right? It's that same thing, but we've put these genders on them, and we put people down different paths. But the skills that you developed in the medical world, the exact same skills that you're utilizing and developing further in the electrical world. So it doesn't surprise me at all, but it's very interesting.
I now that you say that, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, that makes sense. But it surprised the shit out of me.
Right, yeah.
Like in, in my head, I thought they were completely different worlds. And
Yeah.
in your day to day, I mean, medical
Yes.
aesthetics, I was surrounded by females. My
Right.
majority was all women, and I, got all dressed up and wore heels and worked with lasers and, um, you know, aesthetic treatments. the fun
So
stuff.
that had to be some crazy culture shock for you. So I
Yes.
have so many questions. Like, did you like working with all men? Did you miss working with all women? What were the pros and cons of both? Do we want to go there? Like, you've done
So,
both.
so I was so self-absorbed when I walked into electrical. I didn't even like mentally factor in that I'm going to be working all with men because I was so
Okay.
concerned with doing a good job and that I performed well and that I wanted very badly to show that I was there for a reason and
Mm,
that I was valuable to them. And so I didn't even process that, like, oh, it's going to be a completely different dynamic
interesting.
until a couple days in.
And then you were like, "Oh, crap."
And it was like, okay, things are different. I need to approach things differently.
Interesting. Because you would come from all-female work environment, then you'd come from this really supportive, nurturing all-female trade school, and then boom, union, like, boop.
Yeah,
How so
totally
what
different.
was that couple of days later? What was that, like, wake-up call like for you? What was the experience?
I was like, I need to learn how they communicate.
Mm.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Like I'm rough around the edges.
You're Jersey, of course you are.
Sarcastic. Right, right. I've got a, dirty sense of humor. So like all of that, no problem. Copulates. I get it. Like it doesn't bother me
Yeah.
anyway. But I couldn't get upward mobility. I didn't understand why they weren't seeing my value.
Hmm.
And I realized that there was this communication barrier in a way that I was doing behaviors that in a female is very nurturing. Women don't like to brag. Women
Mm.
don't like to be um, grandiose and typically minimize our success on average. And that doesn't bode well in a male dominated space. It makes you look like you don't know what you're doing if you don't say, "Yes, I did a great job." And it was very hard for me to say, "Yes, I did a great job." I would automatically default to congratulating the team and
Mm.
supporting the team, being very collaborative, being very team oriented. And the structure is more imperial. It's you follow, you're supposed to go by scale, right? So you have a boss, they have a boss, and you're supposed to follow that lead and not step on anyone's toes. And when you have that type of structure,
Mm.
the way you communicate leadership is different
Mm.
than in other environments. So I started to study what were the leaders doing? How were they performing? What did they
Interesting.
say? How did they respond? And I read the book Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards because literally
Okay.
my life was consumed with reading books and studying. That's all I did.
Okay.
It's
I
going to be
love it.
like, I will be the best electrician in the world. Like, all I did was work and read, and that was it.
Okay.
And that book changed my career trajectory. I
Interesting.
100% believe I gained all the success that I did and was started to be seen as a great electrician as opposed to the girl in the shop because of that book. And
Interesting. I'm gonna have to look that up now. I'm curious because I feel like I hear people kind of go back and forth on this. Like I was speaking with somebody recently, and I'm blanking on who it was. It said that we don't need to change for the industry. The industry needs to adapt and change to make space for us. And that, I as a woman, I shouldn't have to act like a man in order to be successful. There's like this back and forth on like, but then there's also understanding how the systems are working and understanding the process that you're stepping into, and how can you make change if you can't get anybody to even listen to you, and how can you be taken seriously. And so can you talk a little bit more about it? Do you feel like you had to compromise who you were to
No,
learn this and to finally feel seen? Were you having to
I
play a role? Talk to me more about it.
I think that I made the mistake that most women make
Okay.
when we walk into a male-dominated space. We say, "Okay, we're gonna lean into our masculine side."
Mm.
And what does that mean? That means being like one of the guys. I let myself be gross. I spat. Things of this nature.
Cursed
Like,
more, told
you
dirty
know,
jokes more. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
I just, I always,
Yeah.
always covered my hair and didn't wear makeup and kept my nails short.
Mhm.
And I realized that that didn't work and it didn't feel good and it's not who I am. I have a masculine energy, but I also have a strong feminine energy and I need to appease both. I can't just live in
Yeah.
one set
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah.
So I I think that that goes back to, I don't think it's about having to be like a man in order to be seen, and I don't think it's about having the industry change for us, meaning women. I think that the construction culture sucks for men and for women. The
Yes.
guys were fucking miserable, okay? In fact, I was known as Tigger. I'd be coming in the day and I'd be like, "This is magic. Look at all the shit we're building. We're incredible. You guys are amazing. This is awesome." And the guys were like
I hate my
miserable.
life. I
I
hate my
hate my life.
job.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Why do you not see how awesome you are?" And it's because the structure in
Mhm.
construction companies, the leadership is
Mhm.
terrible. And it's
Yes.
been like this generation and generation. All they do is talk down to the guys, treat them like a number.
Yep.
They don't cultivate teamwork. They pit them against each other. So it's not about women and men in my mind. It's about this particular construct, this type of career, the entities that run it, their their environment is bad, and it's just, it doesn't cultivate amazing craftsmen and craftswomen. In fact, the amazing craftsmen and craftsmen are in spite of it. So
Yes.
could
Oh my
you
god.
imagine? Can you imagine what would happen if the culture shifts and they take on thoughts like Simon Sinek?
Oh my god. I love
Mhm.
Simon Sinek. Anybody who
Yes.
doesn't know Simon Sinek, oh my god, he is like one. I love him.
Yes. So when he talks about, the Navy SEALs and real leadership, I'm
Yeah,
a big psychology geek. I love the human mind.
ditto.
And things that Google did that made Google Google. Uh any huge trillion-dollar corporation didn't get there because they treated their people poorly, whether you like that industry or don't.
Yep.
So I think it's more about that.
Yeah.
I think that when you disturb the apple cart, human nature, like you said it yourself, we don't like change.
Right.
It's hard on humans, period.
Yeah. And when you're
So,
talking a whole industry or a whole set of industries, changes really hard.
right. So the key for me in my success was, I didn't change who I was. I learned how they communicated, because men and women communicate differently.
Mhm.
We have different social settings and different structures, and how we would approach something isn't exactly the same. Some things are exactly the same and some things aren't.
Yeah.
And when I started to learn how men communicated in that environment and then started to speak their language, that's when my career really
I love it.
started to take off. And that doesn't mean I didn't have naysayers. It doesn't mean I didn't deal
Sure.
with your dicks, you know. I had
Well, sure, because
assholes.
you're still within that construct that is not healthy for in a lot of ways for anybody, right? For male or
Yeah.
female. There's a lot about the skilled trades that is not a great culture for anybody.
Hazing. They
Yeah.
encourage a lot of hazing,
Yep.
which we all know is, like, terrible and doesn't work.
Right.
Like,
Right.
but they still do it.
But they still do it. And yeah, the skilled trades is I struggle with this, and I'm curious how you handle this as an evangelist for the trades, and I obviously am a huge advocate for the trades as well. I struggle sometimes with the conundrum of I love my job. I love what I do. I love the trades, and I hate the industries so much and how they have been allowed to be for so long with the hazing and with the poor culture and poor treatment and how many skilled trades folks say I would never want my children to go into these fields. I don't recommend that anybody go into these fields. Like, how do you reconcile that for yourself?
Okay. So for me, being somebody who is career diverse, I dealt with unpleasant environments in other industries as well. So it's not like it's just construction.
Sure.
And the self confidence, the intelligence, the creativity, the innovation, the teamwork, the collaboration that can come, in my experience, only truly with the skilled trades, when you have humans building together,
Mhm.
creating together, to physically see the growth every day, the camaraderie, that outweighs the
Mhm.
negative aspect. And also it's changing. Look,
Yeah.
people are smarter. I know it might not seem that way all the time. I get it.
Change
But
is slow sometimes.
but there's a lot of, like, the young guys, they didn't look at me as a female in the trades. They looked at me like a coworker.
That's
They
awesome.
treated me like a coworker. They didn't see any difference.
That's
And
phenomenal to hear.
yeah, yeah. So it I mean, I have a dream.
Uh-oh.
I know in my heart that if we had construction companies and environments on the level that I'm thinking, uh, America as a country would just really bloom
Oh
again.
gosh. Yeah. Oh, hands
And
hands down. I am with you. Like, I love the skilled trades to the extent that it, like, is all that it could be. But
yes,
it's so not all that it can be at the moment, like, there but there are more and more of these great companies and these great places where you can get all of that, the empowerment and the camaraderie and the teamwork, and the fact that our industries are struggling is the same reason why our country is struggling and why it's
yes,
gonna all come to a screeching halt if we don't invest in the trades, and if we
yes.
don't fix our internal issues within the trades, because world don't keep turning and functioning on a day-to-day basis without the tradespeople who make it function, like, hands
Yes.
down, like,
But
so
I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
it begins with a conversation. So it's women like you that make the environment
Yeah.
upscale, higher level, demand these types of conversations. Like, if you're not talking about it,
Then nothing changes.
nothing changes, nothing.
Nope.
So you have to be talking about it. It's
Yeah.
platforms like this. It's
Yeah.
communities like this. This is how that happens.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely, and I too have a dream. I have a dream that one day we don't need platforms like this, that my job
Aw,
is no longer necessary, that this podcast is no longer necessary, that your podcast is no longer necessary, that the trades are just held in high esteem, that
yes.
everybody gets exposed to it, that there's men and women and everybody, and life is good, and that we're not seen in any different light whatsoever. That's my
Yes, yes. 100%.
So we are amazingly running out of time. I told you this would happen. Time goes way too fast during this podcast. So I want you to tell me about what got you into doing your podcast, and tell everybody where they can find you and how they can follow along on your podcast journey as well.
Well, when I realized the men were not experiencing what I was experiencing, I was like, this is horrible. Everyone should feel what I'm feeling doing this. Like this is wrong. They need to see how amazing they are. The women need to know about this as a path. Like how come nobody is telling the women, look, you can be an electrician, you could be a plumber, you could, this is what this is.
Yeah.
And the stereotypes and the things that I thought skilled trade was and what it really is. I was like, this no, we've got to open the doors here. We need to be having these discussions. And that's how Sparky Life was born.
I love
because I want others to feel as empowered as I feel when I do the work that I do.
I love it. I love it. So how can people find you? Where can they find Sparky Life, and what can they expect to hear?
All the podcast platforms.
Okay.
Sparky Life on Instagram. It's Sparky Life of Lia. Okay. And we are going to dabble into YouTube. We've got a couple of videos out, but we're working on, making a structure with that and giving that a go.
Awesome.
And you can expect to hear trade tales, get some trade secrets, and hear from amazing people in our field.
Awesome. Very cool. I love it. How long have you been in the trades now?
4 years.
My goodness. So you really dove in. Like, I knew you dove in head first, but I didn't realize it was that quick of a, you dove deep, fast, and passionately.
I had no life for 3 years. Like, when I say all I did was work and study, I'm not exaggerating. And I did in 3 years what it takes most to do in 4 or 5, and was able to achieve my Journeywoman's licensing.
I would say you achieved in 3 years what it would take most a decade, because not only were you achieving Journeywoman, but you were also pulling yourself out of living in a shelter. And now look at you. You're doing the most. So I would say you did a whole lot more in those 3 years than most people do in a decade. So I hope you acknowledge how incredible that is.
Well, the biggest impact is the recognition of time is the most valuable thing. So I've definitely sworn to never again waste my time. I'm on full speed, rocket speed.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so given that, and that we are towards the end here, I've got to ask you the question that I always ask at the end, is if you have the opportunity to go back and speak to little baby you, little Lia, what are your words of advice to her?
Don't give up.
That's it. Just don't give up, huh?
Don't ever give up. Don't give up on yourself is really what it is. The old me really didn't love herself, didn't know who she was, didn't have any self-confidence, and would give up on herself often.
I think we all suffer from that more than we'd like to admit from time to time, and that's perfect words to end on. Never give up on yourself. I love it. You're phenomenal. I feel like we barely scratched the surface. I would also like to acknowledge both of us, because I feel like for two Jersey girls, we were pretty well maintained and pretty well behaved during this entire hour.
We were, right? We were pretty good.
We were pretty good.
Yeah, a couple fucks in there, but
that's okay. That's okay. I'm impressed, because New Jersey girls, if y'all don't know Jersey girls, we are a unique breed. We are a different type entirely. There's two types of women in the world: Jersey girls and everybody else. So yeah, we were pretty well behaved. But You're fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I hope everybody at home has enjoyed meeting you as much as I have. We are definitely going to be staying in touch more offline. I want to hear more about all these fun projects you're up to. And you guys are going to have to stay
Cool.
tuned because I'm going to be a guest on the Sparky Life in the new year. So
I
stay
cannot
tuned.
wait.
Yes. Make sure you go subscribe to her channel as well, so that you'll get notified of when that happens. And I'll, of course, post about it as well. So make sure you're subscribed to all of the channels here. And with that, I'm going to wish you a fantastic night, Leah. And I want to thank everybody at home. Thank you guys so much for spending part of your day with us. I hope you enjoyed meeting Leah as much as I did. She is just an incredible force to be reckoned with. What great energy, hugely inspiring. Make sure you go check out her podcast and check her out on social media and follow along on her journey and throw her some love and support. Big thank you again to our sponsors, Drive Time, for helping make this series possible and for all that they do within their organization and behind the scenes to help support women in the trades. But most of all, thank you guys for being here, for helping us shine a light on women in the trades. If you like this series, make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, tell your friends, spread the word. If you know any incredible tradeswomen who should be featured on this channel, make sure you let me know about that as well. The more we get the word out about these incredible women, the more of these incredible women we will see rising in the ranks, and the more it will be normalized and the less of an odd thing it will be when people come across women in the trades. And then one day my dream will come to fruition that I am no longer a female mechanic. I am just simply a mechanic where there is no need for channels that focus on spreading those stories of women in the trades. And instead, we are just trades people, not tradesmen or tradeswomen. And that is my hope one day. And you guys are all a part of making that happen. So thank you all so very much. Have a fantastic rest of your evening. And until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to one another. We'll see you later.